My stepdad canceled my college fund and gave it to his real son.
Hello, I'm Truly and welcome to my channel. Thank you for listening and I am curious. Where and what time are you hearing this story? Please, let me know where you are hearing this in the comments below. Lastly, for more stories, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
The graduation tassel felt rough against my palm, a bittersweet comfort. It symbolized the end of one chapter, a chapter I'd dreamt of slamming shut triumphantly. College acceptance letter clutched in my hand. Instead, the tassel felt like a weight, a constant reminder of the future that was supposed to be, the one stolen from me. I was Melissa, 19, and officially a graduate of Northwood High. I should have been buzzing with excitement, planning dorm room decor and nervously anticipating orientation. Instead, I was filled with a simmering anger that threatened to boil over at any moment, and a bone-deep weariness that no amount of sleep seemed to cure. 7 years. That's how long Mark had been my stepfather. 7 years of forced smiles at family dinners. 7 years of awkward Father's Day gifts. 7 years of pretending he was the dad I never really had. He'd made such a show of it all in the beginning, hadn't he? The grand pronouncements of loving me like his own, the promises of a secure future, the echoing phrase, "You're my daughter now, Melissa." I remembered turning 13, awkward and gangly, and Mom sitting me down with a serious look in her eyes. "Mark and I wanted to do something special for you, honey. We've started a college fund. Both of us will contribute, so you can go anywhere you want." I hadn't dared to dream that big before. College had always seemed like a distant, unattainable star. With that fund, it felt within reach, a tangible goal to strive for. I poured myself into my studies, joined clubs, even took on a part-time job to save a little extra, just in case. Joseph, Mark's biological son, was 3 years younger than me, a hulking, athletic figure even then. Football was his life, Mark his biggest cheerleader. I understood the dynamic, the deep-seated desire of a father wanting his son to succeed, to achieve the dreams he himself couldn't. Mark had been a promising player in his youth, a knee injury shattering his aspirations. He seemed determined to live vicariously through Joseph, pushing him relentlessly. It was often suffocating to watch. The first crack in the facade appeared subtly, a nagging feeling that something was off. Mom seemed unusually tense, avoiding my eye when I mentioned college applications. Then, 2 months before graduation, the bomb dropped. I'd been researching scholarships online, feeling a familiar knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach. The sheer cost of tuition was daunting, even with the college fund. Mom walked in, her face pale and drawn. She sat down heavily beside me and took my hand. "Melissa, honey, we need to talk." Her voice was barely a whisper. The truth unraveled slowly, painfully. The college fund, the one I'd been counting on, the one that represented years of hope and hard work, was gone. Emptied. Mark had withdrawn every last penny. The reason? Joseph. Joseph, the star quarterback, needed specialized training. A private sports academy had caught Mark's eye, a place that promised to mold Joseph into a college-level athlete, a sure path to a scholarship and a glorious future. The price tag? My future. I remember the white-hot rage that consumed me, a tidal wave of betrayal threatening to drown me. I confronted Mark, my voice shaking with fury. He stood there, unrepentant, his eyes hard. "He needs it more, Melissa. He has a future. You'll figure it out." Those words echoed in my head, a constant, mocking refrain. "You'll figure it out?" As if my dreams, my aspirations, were disposable, secondary to his son's football ambitions. The fight that followed was brutal, a screaming match that shook the foundations of our carefully constructed family. Mom, devastated by Mark's betrayal and his blatant disregard for my future, was inconsolable. She'd been completely blindsided, just as I had. The divorce came swiftly, a messy, painful affair. Mom, bless her heart, filed a fraud case against Mark, but the legal process was slow and exhausting. The money was gone, the damage irreparable. I haven't spoken to Mark since that day. He occasionally sends emails, pathetic attempts at justification, blaming me for breaking the family. As if his actions had no consequences. As if I was the one who'd shattered the fragile peace. No, dude. You did that all by yourself. So here I am, tassel in hand. A high school graduate with no clear path forward. College is still the dream, but it's a distant dream. Shrouded in the fog of reality. I'm enrolled at the local community college, working 2 jobs to pay for tuition and living expenses. I bus tables at a diner during the day, and stock shelves at a grocery store at night. The hours are long, the work is exhausting, but it's a means to an end. Mom works tirelessly at a dead-end job, struggling to make ends meet. The divorce has taken a toll on her, both emotionally and financially. She carries a constant burden of guilt, blaming herself for trusting Mark, for believing in his promises. I try to reassure her, telling her it's not her fault, but the weight of her choices hangs heavy in the air. Joseph, oblivious or indifferent to the chaos he's caused, is thriving at the sports academy. I see his picture occasionally on social media, helmet gleaming under the stadium lights, a smug grin on his face. He's living the dream that was bought and paid for with my stolen future. Sometimes, late at night, when my feet ache and my eyes burn with exhaustion, I allow myself to wallow in bitterness. I replay the events in my head, searching for answers, for a way to make sense of it all. But there is no sense to be made. It's just a cruel, unfair reality. Then I remember Mom, her weary smile, her unwavering belief in me. I remember the teachers who encouraged me, the friends who offered support. And I remember the fire that still burns inside me, the determination to prove Mark wrong. He thinks I'll give up, that I'll fade into the background, a forgotten casualty of his ambition. He thinks I'll be broken by the hardship, that I'll accept my fate as a waitress with unrealized dreams. But I won't. I refuse to. Community college isn't the ivy-covered halls I envisioned, but it's a start. It's a stepping stone. I'm taking classes, learning new skills, building a foundation. It's slow. It's challenging, but it's progress. I'm saving every penny I can, sacrificing nights out with friends, foregoing new clothes. Every dollar I earn is a small victory, a testament to my resilience. I'm researching scholarships and grants, determined to find a way to transfer to a 4-year university. It won't be easy, but I'm not afraid of hard work. I've learned that lesson firsthand, and I'm writing. I'm pouring my anger, my frustration, my hope into words. I'm writing about my experiences, about the injustice I've faced, about the strength I've found within myself. Maybe one day my words will reach others, will inspire them to fight for their dreams, no matter the obstacles. Mark may have stolen my college fund, but he didn't steal my ambition. He didn't steal my intelligence. He didn't steal my spirit. My path may be different, harder, and more unconventional than I ever imagined, but it's still my path. And I will walk it with my head held high, knowing that I earned every step of the way. The tassel, no longer a symbol of bitterness, now feels like a promise. A promise to myself, to Mom, and to all those who believed in me. A promise that I will not be defined by Mark's betrayal, but by my own resilience, my own determination to succeed. The graduation ceremony ends, and I walk off the stage towards the bright, uncertain future. A future I will build, brick by brick, with my own 2 hands. A future that will be all the sweeter for the struggles I've overcome. I may have been robbed of my dream, but I will create a new one. And this time, it will be unbreakable. It will be mine. And Mark, watching from the sidelines, will finally understand that he underestimated me. He may have broken the family, but he also unleashed a force he never saw coming. Melissa, the girl who figured it out. And I'm just getting started. Epilogue. There was lie, a constant hum in the background of my childhood, like the refrigerator that always seemed to be running, faintly but persistently. Your father, David, he didn't love us, honey, Mom, Jill, would say, her voice soft, almost regretful, whenever I dared to ask about the hazy, forgotten figure in the few faded photos I found tucked away. He just left. And I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my mother. Mark, her new ex-husband, my ex-stepfather, was a booming presence then. A man who was supposed to fill the space David presumably left empty. He brought with him Joseph, his son, a year older than me, already radiating a pre-teen swagger born from too much praise and an innate talent for throwing a football. Our house, a modest suburban split level, felt less like a home and more like a stage where Mom orchestrated our lives. Joseph was the star, the golden boy, destined for athletic greatness. His room was plastered with sports posters, his evenings filled with drills, his college funds already earmarked for some elite sports academy. My aspirations, simple and academic, a quiet dream of a 4-year degree of lecture halls and libraries, felt mundane, almost an inconvenience. Mark would pat my head and say, "Good for you, Melissa," but his eyes were always on Joseph, charting the trajectory of a promising career. Mom never encouraged me to reach out to David's side of the family. They were never truly supportive, she'd dismiss, waving a hand, always blaming me. "It's better this way, Mel. We're a family, just us now." So, David's parents, my father, Nancy and Drew, became ghostly figures. Names whispered once or twice, then fading into the realm of the unknown, cut out of my life with surgical precision. Years passed, marked by Joseph's ascent through the ranks of high school football. He was a phenomenon, scouts sniffing around before he even hit junior year. He got into a prestigious private sports academy, a stepping stone, everyone agreed, to a major. University and then the NFL. My own path was less dramatic. I excelled academically, devoured books, and spent weekends volunteering, quietly building a resume designed for scholarships, knowing that college for me wouldn't come with the same easy flow of funds Joseph enjoyed. But the financial strain, the whispers of student loans, the sheer weight of application fees, often felt like a suffocating blanket. Then came the year I turned 18, a month after filing my last college application. My fingers crossed so hard they ached. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning, nestled between spam and university newsletters. The subject line read, "A message from Nancy and Drew." My heart did a strange flip. Nancy and Drew. The names felt alien, yet strangely familiar, like fragments of a dream. Curiosity, a powerful, almost desperate need to fill in the blanks of my past, won out over the ingrained caution Jill had instilled. I opened it. The words were tentative at first, then flowing, a torrent of suppressed grief and longing. They explained how they'd lost contact with me, how Jill had changed her number, how they'd tried for years to find me through mutual acquaintances, finally resorting to public records. They asked, pleaded almost, for a chance to meet. To talk. There was an urgency in their tone, an underlying sorrow that pricked at something deep inside me. I agonized for days. Mom would explode. Mark would be furious. Joseph, probably indifferent. But the pull was too strong. I needed answers. I needed them. I responded, keeping it brief but expressing a willingness to meet. We settled on a quiet Italian restaurant on the outskirts of town, far enough from our neighborhood to feel safe from accidental encounters. The day of the meeting, my stomach churned with a mix of dread and anticipation. I slipped out, telling Mom I was going to the library. The restaurant was cozy, dimly lit, smelling of garlic and old wine. I spotted them immediately, an older couple, silver-haired, sitting at a table near the back, their hands clasped. Nancy, with kind eyes that crinkled at the corners, and Drew, his face etched with a quiet sadness that mirrored hers. They looked exactly as I imagined grandparents should look, warm and a little fragile. When I approached, Nancy stood, her eyes widening, then welling up. "Melissa?" she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Drew rose too, a silent, almost reverent nod. "Hi," I managed, my voice suddenly reedy. Nancy enveloped me in a hug that felt like coming home to a place I'd never known. "Oh, my dear girl," she murmured, stroking my hair. "You're so much like him." We sat, and the initial awkwardness quickly dissolved under the weight of years of unasked questions. They spoke of David, my father, not as the uncaring man Jill had painted, but as a vibrant, loving son, a promising young man with a fierce sense of duty. "Your mother," Drew began, his voice surprisingly firm. She told us he just disappeared. That he didn't want you. That he abandoned a family he'd sworn to protect. He paused, gripping Nancy's hand. It was a lie, Melissa. My breath caught in my throat. A lie? The hum in the background of my life suddenly roared. Nancy took over, her voice soft, hesitant, as if treading on sacred ground. Your father, David. He enlisted, Melissa. He joined the Marines. He believed so strongly in serving his country. He deployed overseas when you were just a toddler. My mind reeled. Deployed? My father? The image of the man who'd left shattered, replaced by a uniform, a flag. He was stationed in Afghanistan, Drew continued, his gaze distant, lost in memory. He was a brave man, Melissa. Distinguished service, commendations. His voice trailed off. Nancy squeezed my hand across the table. There was an incident, an ambush. He didn't make it home. A world tilted. David, my father, killed in action, overseas. The words echoed in my head, a drumbeat of truth replacing a lifetime of falsehoods. Grief, sharp and sudden, pierced through me, not just for the man I'd never known, but for the years of deceit, the deliberate erasure of his memory. He was a hero, Melissa, Nancy said, tears finally overflowing. He died serving our country. He didn't abandon you. He loved you so much. He carried your picture everywhere. Drew pulled a small, worn leather wallet from his pocket. Inside, carefully folded, was a tiny, faded photo of a baby. Me, my chubby cheeks and bright eyes staring out. This was in his vest pocket, he said, his voice thick. They sent it back with his belongings. My hands trembled as I took the wallet. My father. He carried my picture. He died a hero. Because of his sacrifice, Nancy explained, her voice steadying. You are a Gold Star family member. Do you know what that means, dear? I shook my head, my eyes still fixated on the tiny fragment of my infancy. It means, Drew said, a gentle, sad smile playing on his lips, that his service, his ultimate sacrifice, can open doors for you. There are scholarships, full-ride scholarships for the children of fallen soldiers, educational benefits. You are eligible, Melissa. More than eligible. The realization hit me like a wave. All those years, struggling with financial aid forms, worrying about my future, while this incredible opportunity, stained with sorrow but paved with honor, had been waiting, buried under a mountain of lies. That night, I went home, the weight of the truth both crushing and liberating. I didn't confront Jill immediately. I couldn't. The shock was too profound. Instead, I poured myself into the scholarship applications for Gold Star families, a new hope blossoming amidst the grief. With Nancy and Drew's help providing the necessary documentation, the process was surprisingly smooth. The acceptance letters, once mere possibilities, now came with the promise of fully paid tuition, living expenses, books. College was no longer a dream, it was a certainty. I moved away for college, a 4-hour drive from home, creating a physical distance that mirrored the emotional chasm that had opened between me and my mother. Nancy and Drew became my anchors, my true family. They visited, called regularly, filled in the blanks of David's life, sharing stories, showing me old family videos, finally allowing me to know the man who had given his life. They attended my freshman orientation, my parents' weekend, and eventually my graduation. A day I'd once only dared to dream of, now a vibrant reality. I stood on the stage, diploma clutched in my hand, a magna cum laude graduate. I had pursued my passion, devoured knowledge, and built a foundation for a future limited only by my imagination. Nancy and Drew were in the audience, beaming, tears in their eyes. They were immensely proud, not just of my academic achievements, but of the person I had become, resilient, determined, and finally, whole. Meanwhile, back home, Joseph's star had plummeted. The news broke during my sophomore year of college. A doping scandal had rocked his elite private sports academy. Joseph was among those implicated, his promising career scorched to ashes. He was kicked out of the academy, his scholarships revoked, his name tainted. The national sports media, once full of his triumphs, now reveled in his spectacular downfall. No major university wanted him, no professional team would touch him. I heard snippets from Jill, rare and strained phone calls. Joseph was home with his father, adrift, angry. He'd dropped out of community college after a semester, unable to focus. His once booming presence had shrunk into a sullen silence. The golden boy was tarnished, his future, once so clear, now a murky, aimless void. Mark, once so proud, was now a shadow of his former self, his dreams for his son shattered. The irony wasn't lost on me. Joseph, whose path had seemed so assured, whose opportunities had been handed to him, had self-destructed. And I, the girl who was told her father didn't love her, and whose dreams felt perpetually out of reach, had not only found her truth but had used it as a stepping stone to achieve everything I'd ever wanted, and more. The lie Jill had told me, intended to erase David, to simplify her life, had instead created a chasm of resentment that would never fully heal. But it had also, in a way, set me free. The truth, when it finally found me, had been painful, devastating even, but it had also been the key to unlocking my future, a future built not on deceit, but on the enduring legacy of a brave man I finally knew and loved. My father, David, the true hero of my story.